because it's all about the story and the script, and so what was it that connected you to it in the first place?
Well, I'll start. I think it's all about love. And as far as I was concerned, I was obsessed by love. And this lady arrives and becomes a challenge to that love. So.
Do you mean in terms of like choosing to do the project?
Yeah, what was it about the story that you connected with?
It was really, well, I loved the script, and knowing Axelle and talking to her about how she wanted to shoot it, and having just an absolute feeling of sort of a very strong connection to the character, and feeling like I wanted to really go into her story, and yeah.
Well, the story is dealing with grief as one of the themes, and because it's written by a woman and being directed by a woman, do you think that brings a sensitivity that maybe a man can't bring to that, because you can all connect to what there's...
I don't know if it's that a man can't, but I felt that Axelle certainly had managed to do it in an incredibly sensitive and sort of beautiful, truthful way. She had written it, and I felt, as somebody who has experienced it with a close member of my family, I felt it really did justice to what it's like to really go through something like that, which I think is incredibly important.
Yeah. I think it was to do with the whole question of hanging on, how important it is, in a sense. You hang on to that grief because you're hanging on to that inner story, your own narrative. So, I found the script absolutely intriguing, I have to say, but I'm not a horror film person. So I'm rather excited and a little bit scared as how I'm actually going to be able to stay in the cinema and watch it.
I think it's also because the unique the way of telling the story through her meeting a ghost, and it being a ghost that is the thing that enables her to get through, and she's trying to make herself better. She's made the decision to try and get over it, and it's a ghost that finally helps her to be able to do that. And I think that's lovely, taking comfort from something that's not really readily available in the real world, that was too difficult for her at that time.
Yeah, it's extraordinary though, because it's also really about two women who enter, who believes in ghosts in that sense, and it's the strength of these two women actually believing from a very personal point of view, they're from their own grief, isn't it? That somehow creates the whole sense of the reality of the film. So
something about a connection as well.
A connection.
Having to connect to something. As human beings, we need to connect to either other human beings and just to hold on. And I wonder whether there's elements of that as well.
Well, I think also in Teresa's, obviously, I think my character is quite funny, really, but she's desperately sad at the same time, and in a way, she's unable to be real in her own marriage. So it's about denying a real relationship in order to hang on to this part of herself, which she felt was validated in real love.
Congratulations to you this evening, your directorial debut.
Thanks.
What kind of, when you sat down and wanted to hatch out a story, what was it about? How did you get the idea, really?
My husband Neil and I were on a trip in the countryside in England, and we drove through little villages by complete chance. We kind of got lost on the road, and we saw those little villages, and I thought, this is amazing. This is what inspired all those writers to come up with all those amazing British ghost stories that don't get made that often anymore. Obviously, since then, we've had Women in Black, and we've had a kind of revival of those films, but when I wrote it, it was 4 or 5 years ago, and there hadn't been that many made, and I thought, I need to make a ghost story set in Britain. It needs to happen. And I love ghosts, so that seemed very natural.
And did you always have this film as being the one that you were then going to helm as your first film to direct?
No, I wrote it thinking maybe I'll act, or maybe I'll hand it over to someone else, or I wasn't really sure. And as I started rewriting, I got pretty obsessed with it. And it just stayed in my mind, and I felt like I can't let go of this script. I can't. If I act in it, I can't direct it. This is what I want to do. And so I got to direct a few short films, and think that the first time I was on set, I was like, this is brilliant. I love this. This is great. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And yeah, it felt very natural. So
is there something as well? What I'm touching on here is being in control of your content and having a control of your vision. Instead of handing it over to somebody else.
Yeah, it's very much that. It feels like anytime you write something that's a little bit personal, I find it very hard to give it to someone and give them to read the script to begin with. I find it's a part of yourself that you're showing to people, and I find that very hard. And then I thought, if this film ever gets made and someone else makes it, it needs to be I feel very strongly about this story, and I want to show it myself. It has themes of grief and themes of getting over the past and forgiving yourself that I thought were very important to me. And so, yeah, it felt very much like this was I was supposed to be doing this, I think.
Does it make it easier for you, having been an actor as well, that when you're working with your actors, that you've all got sensitivity to what's needed for the scene, so it made that easier for you to work together?
I think that's maybe more a question for Anna and Tanya, but yeah, I felt like, to me, it helps to know the kind of advice that I can give to actors and the kind of directions that they might be looking for. And it also, I know a lot of people are terrified of actors. A lot of directors think, I don't really understand what this acting thing is all about. So having this insider knowledge was very helpful.
So we see you in a very different role with this film as executive producer.
Yeah.
So
I'm a grown-up at last.
How was the process different for you? I mean, compared to directing, obviously.
The process was to be very specifically hands-off. Was to oversee, help wherever possible, and then just step back and let everybody do their jobs. Because we got such a great bunch of people together. I knew that Axelle knew what she was doing, so I didn't have to do much, really. I think when we were actually filming, the most thing I did on set was be a unit driver, and I had a lot of fun doing that. It was great. It was almost like zero responsibility. Just don't crash the car. And don't have to. The film is in safe hands, and it was. So.
Axelle's your wife, and
yes.
So what was it when you first read the story? What was it that you thought, yeah, this is the story that we can go ahead and do this?
Well, it was a long process that Axelle had been writing the script over a number of years. Ultimately, I mean, I remember with my first feature, it was like 6 years to get it made. With Axelle's, it's been nearly 4, I think, from script to screen. Anyway, it is that long process that you go through and getting the script refined and refined and refined. And along the way, I was reading it and chipping in notes as you do. And some of these she took on board, and some of them she didn't. And that's just the way it works. And eventually got to a script that we both absolutely loved, and said, let's go do that one. And
is it lovely as well for you? Obviously, you're married, to then be able to take this project and both love and work on it together and see this creation come together. Really,
absolutely. It's kind of nurturing something, really, and to be there and just watching it all happen. And in some ways, not being director or whatever, it lends you a little bit distance to be objective about the whole thing and see it happen in a way that you can't when you're the director, because you're so involved. And step back and just see how it's working, and to watch Axelle work is great. She's so kind of intuitive and instinctive about her directing. I didn't need to be there at all. I got involved later on in the edit, but that's just because I spent 8 years as an editor. I'm bound to lend my opinion somewhere along the way. But I didn't need to do that much, and it was just a joy to watch her work and then see the final product, and I'm just so proud of it.
Well, the interesting thing with you saying being an editor, you're very much the soundboard for the director, aren't you, really?
Yeah.
To give the objectivity that perhaps the director, who's so immersed in the story, may not see.
The thing is like some directors just haven't got a clue how a film is actually pieced together, and don't know some fundamental things like crossing the line and stuff like that, which is basic stuff. But some directors can't get a handle on that, and they get into trouble in the edit because of it. Whereas, as I said, Axelle just knew all this stuff. She just understood basic concepts of how to structure a scene, how to shoot it, how to cut it together. And so, when I came in and helped out with the edit, it was so easy. It was all just there.